Is inconsistency bad? The inconsistency in words and actions. I've come into realization that I'm often inconsistent. I could be accused of being a hypocrite in my words or actions, breaking my promises or previously made statements. And I think it's interesting to ask if it's possible to be reasonably inconsistent or reasonably hypocritical. And I think there might be two notions of inconsistency here. There's one where you hold two opposite beliefs simultaneously. That's a sort of inconsistency. And then there is holding two opposite beliefs sequentially. I think the second one is more easily justifiable. So let's say if you hold a strong belief of something and then you come into contact to some new information, you decide to abandon that held belief for the because of the new information. And maybe something like if you believe all the apples in the world are red and then you see a green apple and then you change that belief. And someone might come in and say that you're being consistent, but I think you'll be reasonably justified to alter your previously held belief. So there's that. And then there's the simultaneously held opposite beliefs as an inconsistency, like in knowledge. So the thing about knowledge is the things I claim I know, things that I claim to be my knowledge, they might not be determined or completely justified. And in fact, I would say that most of my knowledge is unjustified in that sense. But I don't say that they are unjustified. I don't say that explicitly say that they are unjustified. So let's say the most obvious or the most easiest thing uh, to be known, something like drinking water. If I say I know how to drink water, like most people will say that they know, it wouldn't be something that's completely true because I can easily imagine a case where, let's say, the glass is too slippery or the water is in a place that's difficult to drink from. Just in any sort of scenario where drinking water is the method to drink that water is not easily known, and I might agree to that circumstance that in that case I don't know how to drink water. So, would I revise my previous statement? I wouldn't say so. It's purely practical. There is this sort of societal pressure where it's not normal to be explicit about everything you uh, don't know or you can't justify. It's not normal to say that if let's say you talk about if it comes up in a conversation and you say, oh, I don't know how to drink water, not I'm not certain how to drink water. It's only maybe in this case I know how to drink water if the glass uh, is grabbable, is not slippery, but maybe I can come up with different examples where I don't know how to drink water. It's not normal to say it like that, to make statements like that. So there is this sort of societal, almost like cultural or a sort of pressure to take a firm stance on the positions, even though you don't have a complete justification to take that firm stance. So that's where the responsibility to be consistent comes into question. Because if being inconsistent is something inevitable in cases, then there's a utility to be inconsistent, and the responsibility to become consistent is no longer a thing. Let's say hypocrisy in action is a form of inconsistency. And you might say, let's say a lawmaker who commands his citizens to obey the law while being inconsistent about himself obeying the law. He violates the law all the time, but he commands his citizens to obey the law. And some might say that the inconsistency there is immoral. The point I'm trying to make is it's not the inconsistency in that case is immoral, but rather the specific case, like the politician, the lawmaker, the emperor, he himself disobeying the law. That's the part that's immoral. Because you can think of an opposite case where the lawmaker commands his citizens to not obey the law, while he himself, being consistent, obeys the law. So you might say that inconsistency there is absurd, but you wouldn't say it's immoral. That's what I mean by saying that inconsistency is not a moral concept. So if it's not inconsistency or consistency that are the problem, if those are not moral notions, say if someone has criminal thoughts or beliefs, he might be encouraged to be inconsistent about those beliefs or thoughts in his actions. Then why is it we observe so much frustration over the fact that in a conversation or a discussion, one party is being inconsistent and the other party might be frustrated over that fact. Aside from the fact that it might be time wasting, it might be considered a waste of time that they will have to resolve that inconsistency before they could move on to the next part of the conversation. I think it might be because it's symptomatic of something deeper. That inconsistency is not a problem, but rather the specific things that are being inconsistent about that are the problem. Maybe it's something like before going into a discussion, the two parties have to hold some shared principles or beliefs in order for that discussion to be um, possibly fruitful. And the violation of those shared principles or beliefs when one party is being consistent is a violation not only of that one party's principles, but rather the other parties as well. So it's not the fact that one party is being consistent that's the problem, but rather is that one party is being consistent about both parties' shared principles. That's the problem. So I guess the point of all of my rambling is it's not the inconsistency we should avoid, and it's not consistency in and of itself that we should strive for, but rather it's the principles that are worthwhile to uphold that we should care about upholding specifically their consistencies.